monkeys born under the sign of fire live close to the sun at the top of the trees. The first live in a low forest of Brazil, which the sun penetrates easily to the ground. For these monkeys, fire is a small flame. The Indians of Amazonia say that nature conceived them with the energy of the first rays of the day. The first time we saw them, we wondered if they really were monkeys. The way they cling to the branches reminded us more of wildcats, tiny lions the natives call the tamarin lion. It is one of the smallest monkeys in the world. Adults weigh just 600 grams. Cuddly, too cuddly. Popular pets, they have been so heavily poached that they have become extremely rare. Only about 300 specimens have survived. One extraordinary characteristic of tamarins is that the females always have twins and only one couple reproduces. The others abstain and help to bring up the babies. Their reproductive instinct is sacrificed for the good of the group. In these conditions, it's easy to understand why the survival of the species is threatened. When siesta time comes, tamarins have to protect themselves from everything, from birds of prey and the solar fire of the afternoon. They are just the start of monkeys of fire. They will not become the lions of monkeys. Children should not play with fire. Fire is dangerous. Fire is for grown-ups. In a floating base camp on Lake Mamuroa, near the Amazon, the camera crew and the scientists are very busy. Their main objective is to accustom the primates to the presence of man so that they can be studied and filmed. You have to travel by water, in a sublime disorder of forests and jungles, to find a larger monkey. A monkey born under the second sign of fire that the Amazonian Indians call the energy of the sun at midday, when the star is at its climax. But it's clear from the outset that the monkey which would like to be the lion here has missed out. The Howler monkey is more like a stupid dog. It would like to roar like a lion, but this is the result. A raucous bark, more like a growl. However, this is the way the Howler monkeys salute the dawn. Every morning, the males repeat these noises several times. All the groups call in, and a deafening din haunts the forest. Not very nimble, even rather slow, the Howler monkey never moves away from his harem from 10 to 15 individuals. It doesn't travel more than 500 meters a day, just enough to find the food within reach, tough leaves or buds, flowers and fruit. And a very bad jumper. He hardly uses his prehensile tail to move, but rather like a fifth hand, for safety. Always climb with 2 pressure points. It's less dangerous. Everything about howler monkeys is slow, even their reflexes. If this youngster were to fall from a tree, the mother would take ages before deciding to go down to recover it. Every evening, after the animals of the night have taken over the forest again, the howler monkeys sing their strange symphony, identical to the one they sing in the morning, this time to celebrate the setting of the sun. The third fire sign is the energy of the sun as it sets. For the Indians, this is the energy of men who, while falling asleep, go to meet their inner fire, a sort of midnight sun. A monkey born under this sign exists in the center of Brazil. Strictly localized between Rio Japura and the Amazon in a forest half-flooded 6 months a year, where you can only get around in dugouts in the inextricable labyrinths. Here, the air is filled with mosquitoes and the water is infested with piranhas. According to Indian legends, the quest for the monkey of the setting sun is a mystical journey which only those with the wisdom necessary to understand the fire of hell can accomplish. If not, the traveler will find bad luck. You should never play with fire. Indeed, this monkey almost discouraged all the scientists who tried to study it. We were the first to film it in freedom. After 60 days waiting, we finally saw a head, red as a fire, the uakari. This, the strangest monkey on earth, only lives at the top of the trees, 50 meters up, close to the sun. Very lively, it's so savage that we know very little about it, but it seems to do nothing in the same way as other monkeys. For example, this fruit it is holding is its only food and only exists in this flooded forest. The shell, which contains energy-packed seeds, is extremely strong. To open it, it has to use its hyper-developed canines and powerful jaws. During the floods, these fruit fall into water and are pulled by the current. For this reason, the uakaris move around a lot to find their food and scream their contact cries all the day long so as not to lose touch with the pack in the forest. Other characteristics of the uakari are its original tail, which it uses like a pendulum, bright blue eyes, a large brain which gives him this round head, and especially this red face. The Brazilians think it looks like an alcoholic and call it the English monkey because of their colonizing competitors' supposedly immoderate taste for gin. In fact, this red color is due to high blood vascularization, which disappears when the uakari dies. But the Tupi Indians explain that the uakari's head is red because this monkey possesses the meanders of hell. They believe that nature has hidden in its brain the ultimate secret of the power of the element fire, a secrecy as difficult to break as its tough fruit. In the south of Brazil, below the Iguaçu Falls, the Guarani Indians say that before creating humans, nature experimented with monkeys, prototypes as it were. Nature made several live models. For example, starting from a spark of the great light, nature created the battery-powered monkey, so small that it's in competition with birds. The same size, the same branches, the same food, and a similar cry rich in ultrasounds. The brush marmoset is a cousin of the tamarin lion, just as primitive and even smaller, 400 grams. Size, hardly 18 centimeters, not including the tail. More aggressive than the tamarin, he wriggles impatiently with the energy of the rising sun. Like a baby lion, he loves the meat of insects. The bigger, the better. The victims fall, one after the other, however different. This small predator only quietens down when it's sleeping. High voltage, live current. It seems likely to burn out all the time. Nature's second prototype before making man was in the jungle in southern Brazil, the Capuchin Sapajou. This one was lit with the spark of mischief. At the beginning, the descendants of the conquistadors thought it was a devil because of its black face, and then, in a swing of a pinion, this small monkey weighing 3 kilos with its back-to-front tonsure was christened the Capuchin in reference to the Capuchin monks. So the monkey changed from an imp to a monk. Perhaps both are mischievous. Certainly the Capuchin is by far the most intelligent monkey in the New World. To communicate with its fellows, it has a very big repertory of signs, gestures and calls. This tiny monk is a nature specialist and applies his mind to finding in the forest all the food sources that others cannot. The Indians thought of it as the forest cleaner. For during his intense activity, the capuchin cannot meet a dead branch without breaking it and then throwing it to the ground. Normal. The forest is its table, and the table of a gourmet must always be scrupulously clean. Nature's third attempt in southern Brazil was the Moriqui. Nature created it with a glance to burn off sex. The result is a totally placid, phlegmatic creature. Moriquis are the largest monkeys in South America, reaching 10 to 12 kilos when adult. From branch to branch, they move several miles a day. For them, traffic is always fluid. Lifts are natural, plentiful, and never break down. If moriquis travel so much, it's not only to find their food, which simply consists of leaves and abounds everywhere. No, they just seem to like moving around, to see people, to see the world. Moriquis eat upside down. To eat this way, without losing your head, you need two things. Firstly, a prehensile tail. Much more powerful than the howler monkeys, this tail can be used as a single grip point and also like a fifth limb to move more quickly, like a spider. To eat upside down, you also need a digestion with a slow fuse, i.e. a stomach like the ruminants. All ruminants are gentle creatures, and the moriquis are no exception. In their groups, males do not compete for the females, as the females have their word to say too. Scientists say that this equality of the sexes exists because the females are as large as the males, and that, over time, they always choose the least aggressive males. This means that male babies are born already knowing that if you are gentle with the girls, you are more likely to attract them. For once, the Indians say the same thing as the scientists. Moriquis exist to teach men and women that a life without the war of the sexes is possible. A life in which sensual fire creates harmony, where fur grooming rules, not only to get rid of parasites, but also to eliminate any fumbling touches. Moriquis like to touch and be touched. It's so good. When you see these hippie monkeys, you wonder if the famous law of the jungle was not in fact invented by man. "80% of the Atlantic forest, which used to cover southern Brazil, was destroyed by man. Animal life is disappearing from the New World, leaving these small monkeys as dying sparks. Life doomed as the forests are cut down. To find the other fire monkeys, you have to go to Africa. reach the monkey full of the firepower of the midday sun, the path is difficult. In Ethiopia, you have to climb extinct volcanoes on the edge of the Rift Valley at an altitude of 3,600 meters. Above the plains where live the Harmonize herders, deposed princes endowed with a great sense of hospitality and guardians of many traditions. Ethiopia played a decisive part in the mysterious history of mankind. Here you find remains of ancient Great Egypt, where monkeys figure on many monuments and whose bodies were sometimes carefully embalmed. The Geladas also deposed kings, related to a race 4 million years old. This species is the only one to have lingered on from ancient Egypt. Exterminated everywhere else in Africa, the Geladas found their last refuge in these inaccessible cliffs. Cliffs to which they cling, as though keeping the memory of the large tribes of biblical times and their chief king. So, in the monkey universe, the Gelada plays the part of the lion. On the cliffs, the Geladas form immense packs of males and females of all ages. At first glance, you would say the crowd was disorganized, but you would be wrong. Social relationships are precise and codified. Each pack is structured in harems composed of distinct subgroups. The Egyptians noticed that the Gelada possesses all the characteristics a large tribe needs to survive for centuries. Its hands, the most skillful of all the primates after man, and a sex which will be used several times a day when the females are on heat. Lastly, the ancients saw in this solar monkey all the symbols of majesty: a golden coat and intelligent eyes, and irises flecked with gold. A senatorial bearing, and fully controlled movements, even if somewhat arrogant and conceited. At adolescence, the males join the bachelor clan. From now on, their goal is to reach the females and reproduce. To do that, they have two solutions. The gentle way is to court the females of a harem for several years. The masterful way is to steal the harem by conquering the reigning chief, choosing the right moment, neither too late nor too early. The bachelors spend long hours watching the females. They wait, patiently, and prepare. They can take up to 5 years to observe everything closely. Locate the harems. Identify the chiefs. Which chiefs are already weak or becoming so? Which females can be influenced? The herders, who have been watching the Geladas for much longer than the primate specialists, claim that, during its long hours of meditation, the young male projects itself into the future. It imagines that it is already chief and the father of many children. And if he believes it strongly enough, it is sure to happen. In monkeys and herders, dreams do come true. Something you dream can become quite as real as something you see. The Harmonize herders say that a tribe which does not dream anymore disappears. Savage, the Geladas flee when we arrive. To approach them, we followed the rules. We never looked at them head-on, and we never went further into the territory than a set limit. Would you believe it? Although these toughs have the teeth of carnivores, the Geladas are 100% vegetarian. They are the only high-altitude monkeys who eat such basic food, but here the choice is limited. The Geladas basically graze grass, sitting down. This is why the old ones called it the sitting monkey. Like somebody who writes or calculates, like a scribe, the Egyptians noted the dexterity with which Geladas select the tenderest blades of grass. They can do this not only because their thumb is opposable with the palm, as in man, but also because each hand has 14 joints. 28 if you count both hands. 28 is the number of days in the lunar month. This is why this monkey was sometimes chosen to symbolize Thoth, the god of the magicians who acts with the precision that the subtle magnetic influences of the moon require. Today the Geladas continue to approach man. They even mingle peacefully with the herds of the Hamaras to share their pastures. The dominant male does not like to be separated from his companions. When traveling, he wants them to follow closely. If any of them hang back, he chivies them along, and in theory they obey. But the statute of dominant is never acquired definitively. Often, the old male looks at the scattered females with concern. Are they still following him? He can never be sure. As he grows old, he loses control of his harem, for the females are more powerful than you might believe. Mothers and daughters know each other very well and can act together if necessary. When one of them decides to disobey, and that the chief, angry, is about to take appropriate sanctions, it can happen that not only a female refuses to follow him, but faces up for a fight. Some of the others may even lend a hand. These domestic fights are scrupulously memorized by the bachelors who are lurking nearby. One day, that will be useful. Indeed, the dominating male is worried. He feels spied on more and more. One day, they will pick on him. A young male will challenge him. Sooner or later, he will be dethroned. When he was younger, he had forgotten that this outcome was inevitable. Geladas are the only monkeys to have this triangle of red skin on their hearts, a sexual signal. The scientists explain that the signal is located on the chest and not on the buttocks as in all other monkeys, as it is the only place where it is visible because of their favorite position, sitting down to eat grass. The herders say that the Gelada shows man the triangle of fire. They also call it the monkey with the bleeding heart in reference to Christ. Ethiopia was one of the first nations to adopt Christianity. And so perhaps only the poets give us the right vision of this animal world, so close to us. During the day, the temperature never exceeds 20 degrees Celsius. The nights are very cold and the rain falls in sheets. When the time comes to confront the elements of water, it is a moment of respite for the old male in its fight to conserve his power. How can he stop the rain putting out the fire of the geladas? His solution is to increase the firepower by huddling together. The Egyptians interpreted the dawn cries of the monkeys as an incantation to the sun to come out of darkness. Geladas still sing, and so the sun continues to rise. As radiant as the water was dark, it will restore life to the world. In his harem, the male resumes his authority. His favorites groom him and he becomes the tribal chief again, clinging to the empty trappings of his power, still believing he has the divine right to rule, when in fact it is the females who run the harem. Macho rule was perhaps essential in the development of the old tribes. It seems obsolete today, but the monkey of the fire of the midday sun is still alive. At the top of these extinct volcanoes, higher up, there is nothing. Much further south, in the forest which borders Lake Naivasha, Black Africa also has monkeys born under the sign of the fire of the setting sun. They are both black as night and white as day. Deep black leather gloves, black and white fur sleeves. At the end of the 19th century, over 200,000 skins of these small monkeys were sent to the Western world to become fur-lined coats, mantles, bonnets, hoods, and other frivolities. Beauty has its downside. The Abyssinian colobus monkey paid its reputation as the most elegant monkey in Africa dearly. Cut to pieces, stripped, its name comes from the Greek word for mutilated because it has no thumb. Colobus monkeys raise their young with babysitters. All the females in the group help out. Here, life in the harem is problem-free. The only moments of aggressiveness are those where the young bachelors challenge and conquer the dominant male after a short fight. Peaceful, colobus monkeys have an original system of digestion similar to ruminants. They eat in a rush, storing leaves from the trees, and then digest slowly and calmly away from danger from predators. Observers often distinguish between omnivorous monkeys and philophagous monkeys like colobus monkeys which eat only leaves. According to primate specialists, the omnivores are more alert, aggressive, and with a complex social life, whereas for philophagous monkeys, life is much more peaceful. Primate specialists also explain that the digestive system also influences the development of intelligence. For them, omnivorous monkeys are in fact more advanced than ruminant monkeys. African medicine men claim that the scientists project their own definition of intelligence onto the monkeys. They say that the brain of all mammals, including man, is a metamorphosis of the stomach. They reason that brains and intestines have the same convolutions. So, just as with their intestines, colobus monkeys digest their food slowly, with their brains they durably assimilate perceptions of the surrounding world. Does slow assimilation mean that they are not intelligent? Doesn't the ruminant digestive process lead to a form of wisdom? Colobus monkeys are very agile. The speed at which they move seems out of proportion to their sedentary life inside small territories. However, thanks to their speed, they escape their winged predators. These monkeys, born under the sign of fire, spend most of their time close to the sun, perched in the trees. They go down to the ground to move from one small clump of forest to another, to sort out disputes, and caress each other in peace if no danger threatens. In India too, 3 fire energies are the rising, the midday and the setting sun. We are in Sri Lanka, a very old world where millennia of civilizations have followed one another, where 600 years before Christ the young Buddha showed man the paths to happiness. In the Polonnaruwa Reserve, we travel back in time to find our last monkey of fire. In this Eden, you meet the serpents of creation. But here, the reptiles are dominated. Here, the ruler is the monkey, a monkey containing all 3 elements of fire, the macaque with a hat. In Sri Lanka, this monkey has been respected for several centuries. For the people here, it is the respect which man owes to the animal from which he descends. The human spirit escaped from the body of the monkey, just as, at the foot of the tree of illumination, the Buddha found release from the cage of an imperfect body. This privileged monkey has the vital energy of the tamarin of Brazil, the distinction of the Gelada of Africa, and the deep melancholy of the uakari. The society of the macaques with hats is like a former human kingdom, with its imperfections, particularly its sense of inequality, as individuals are divided into ruling classes and serfs. Inequality in eating and drinking. When a group arrives at an interesting place like a pond, the dominant class drinks first, and then the others. If food abounds, all eat their fill. If not, the serfs tighten their belts. This rule even applies to females who have children to feed. If a subordinate female finds rice, for example, she will not take any, even if she is hungry, but will wait until a dominant has eaten. Even death strikes according to rank. The serfs, weakened, more prone to disease and less able to defend themselves, die before the others. Inequality between the sexes, too. From adolescence, the males dominate the females who are only half their size. Baby rulers are fed much better than their serf brothers. Stronger, protected by their mother, they are sheltered from reprisals and have a privileged life as long as their mothers are alive. The small tuft of hairs that this monkey has on the top of his head, different from one individual to another, is what gives it its name of the macaque with a hat. Gently and deftly, the small expert hands look for the parasites which live in their fur. Concentration is required. Delousing, also called grooming, is the game all monkeys prefer. In macaques with hats, this activity is a true ritual. Marked, as all their species, by the distinction between ruler and serf, you do not delouse just anyone, and you delouse even if you would prefer to sleep off lunch. However, in one area, all macaques are equal. When they meet an animal stronger than they are, man and man's scalpels. In antiquity already, Greek scientists dissected them instead of human corpses. Then someone realized that the macaques were easy to keep in a cage, and for the last 2 centuries, they have been captured on a very large scale for medical experiments. Today, macaques with hats from Sri Lanka are no longer trapped for vivisection. They are born and raised in laboratories where their numbers remain confidential. A mathematical problem. How much does a monkey weigh, knowing that one can never get just one monkey onto a balance? In Polonnaruwa, scientists focus on macaques. They have been weighed by attracting them with rice. All sorts of calculations and statistics have followed. And it was finally recognized that these animal castes were strictly comparable with the Hindu castes of old, where equality found its balance after the Buddha came out of his cage to the foot of the tree of illumination and brought the caste together to invite them to transcend their barriers. The sanctuary of Polonnaruwa is vital for the survival of these monkeys in the wild. A very unique place. The forest is always green, despite droughts lasting 4 to 5 months every year. Here, the macaques with hats are protected. The only threat is the black market. This still exists. One day, behind a tree like this one, a monkey is clubbed, put in a bag, and awakes to a life of grimaces. In the society of man, where everything is for sale, it will have to earn its meager living. Our children learn that the man descends from the monkey, but have already forgotten the ancestral traditions which made him the instructor of mankind, so that we learn how to lift our eyes and hearts ever higher towards the fire of heaven. And what does the monkey think about that? For him, each fire is a sunset. As the population explosion continues, undergrowth fires already symbolize the destruction of the forest. Other fires are caused by the greenhouse effect. As a result, we destroy 15 million hectares of forests every year, and our brothers, the monkeys, the living history of nature, disappear forever. That's what happens when you play with fire.